you ready to transform your resume into a powerhouse of accomplishments? In this lesson, we'll take a deep dive into the art of crafting compelling, results-driven achievement statements. You'll learn why these statements are so critical for your resume and how to easily create them using a simple formula. We'll also explore a 5-step framework for identifying your most impressive achievements and noteworthy successes. Plus, I'll share my go-to list of action verbs and the key differences between hard skills and soft skills and quantitative versus qualitative achievements. Get ready to make your resume shine with standout achievements. In this lesson, we're going to unlock the secret to crafting powerful, results-driven achievements that will make your resume stand out. So let's start by evaluating the purpose of these statements. First, they give you the opportunity to highlight your accomplishments and specific outcomes. Second, they demonstrate the value you've contributed to past employers. And then third, they show the new employer what you're capable of in the future. And more importantly, results-driven achievements can be especially effective on a resume because they provide concrete examples of your skills and abilities. Now, your number one goal with these statements should be to focus on specific results or outcomes that you have achieved in your career. Here are a few examples: increased sales, improved efficiency, saved money, decreased costs, and even improved productivity. So let's look at a 5-part framework that will make the process of creating your results-driven achievements much easier. The first part to this framework is to identify your accomplishments. Think about the specific tasks and projects you've completed in your previous jobs or education. What were your major accomplishments or successes in these roles? Next, use challenge, action, result, otherwise known as the CAR method. This method involves describing the challenge you faced, the action you took, and then of course the result you achieved. Now we'll dive deeper into this concept in just a minute, but the important thing that I want you to remember is that this method helps to provide context and will make your accomplishments much more concrete and specific. The third part to our framework is to use quantifiable data such as numbers and metrics. Now this will make your achievement statements much more impactful. For example, instead of saying something like "I increased sales," you could say something like "I increased sales by 25% in the first quarter." Now, I have a few more examples that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. The fourth part to our framework is to use strong action verbs. Now, action verbs are things like achieved, increased, or developed. These can help make your statements more meaningful and powerful. Now, I have a list of my favorite action verbs that I'll share in an upcoming slide. And then finally, keep it relevant. Make sure that the achievements you highlight are relevant to the job you're applying for. Now, with this 5-part framework in mind, let's evaluate the difference between hard skills and soft skills, as these will become the basis of your achievements. So hard skills are teachable. These are skills required through formal education or training. They are often related to a specific job or industry and are often quantifiable, meaning that they're much easier to be measured or tested. Now, soft skills, on the other hand, these are personal qualities or characteristics that are not specific to any one job or industry. They are more general skills that are necessary for your success in a variety of roles and are often more subjective, meaning they can't easily be measured or tested. Now let's look at an example of each. When it comes to hard skills, you have things like computer programming languages. This can be Java, C++, or Python. You have graphic design software. This could be things like Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator. You have project management tools like Asana or Trello. You have financial analysis tools like Excel or QuickBooks. There's also video editing software like Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere, and then machine learning frameworks like TensorFlow or Keras. Now, these are just a few examples. When it comes to soft skills, you have things like communication skills, both written and verbal. You have leadership experience. Maybe you have a special ability to motivate and inspire others. There's also problem-solving skills. Maybe you have a track record of finding and creative solutions to challenges. There's also the ability to manage time effectively and meet deadlines. There's teamwork skills. Maybe you have a history of collaborating effectively with colleagues. And there's even the ability to resolve conflicts and mediate disputes effectively. Now, both of these are equally important on your resume, and I'm going to share a special formula with examples in just a moment, but for now, I want to introduce you to some questions that you should ask yourself to help you brainstorm your achievements. The first thing you can ask yourself is, what special things have you done to set yourself apart from others? How have you made your job your own? Have you taken initiative in some way? How have you gone above and beyond what was asked of you? And then finally, what special things have you done to earn a promotion or award? Now, I want you to take a moment to brainstorm these questions. You can even pause this lesson and jot down your answers if you need to. And after you've done that, you now need to implement one of the most important pieces of results-driven achievements, and that is to make them quantifiable. So I want you to look at quantifying your achievements in two categories. We have quantitative and we have qualitative. Let's look at an example of each. When it comes to quantitative achievements, this includes things like numbers, dollars, percentages, time, frequency, and even range. When it comes to qualitative achievements, these are things like promotions or honors. Maybe you have some awards, recognitions, acknowledgments, or maybe there's even a specific skill set that you possess. Now, really quickly, before we move on, I want to do a midpoint lesson checkup. So far, you've learned the purpose of results-driven achievements. You've learned the 5-part framework to create these statements, and you've learned the difference between hard and soft skills and the two forms of measurement, quantitative and qualitative. So I want to dive deep into a formula that will help you simplify the entire process. Here it is. Action verb plus task plus result. Now remember when I mentioned during the 5-part framework, part 2 of that framework was using the CAR method, which again is challenge, action, result. Now this formula is a very, very simple version of that. So let's break this formula down so you know how to implement it in your own situation. So I want to start by looking at some action verbs, and then we'll jump into real life examples of this formula in action. So here is my go-to list of action verbs. You have things like revitalized, streamlined, initiated, negotiated, unified, and even design. Now, depending on your situation, you'll pick and choose action verbs that work for you. By using action verbs on your resume, you can make your work experience and accomplishments sound much more dynamic and impactful. Just be sure to use them appropriately and consistently throughout your resume. Now, let's look at some good and not so good examples of quantifiable results-driven achievement. So here's our first example. I could say, hired and managed a team to successfully implement a new database solution. Or I could say, hired and managed a team of 8 product developers to successfully implement a new database solution ahead of schedule. Here's another example. I could say, used social media to help promote company's website. Or I could say, increased website traffic by 20% over a 3-month period through the development of an intensive social media marketing campaign. Now, your number one goal should be to turn a passive job description into an active performance statement. Now, if you're still having a hard time formulating your achievements, I want to give you some fill-in-the-blank exercises. So I call this the I did this and. So you'll start with I did this and the outcome was, and then list your outcome. You could even say I did this and it resulted in, and then list the result. You could even say I did this and the difference it made was, and then list what that is. Or you could say, I did this and the value it brought was. Now, I want to break down our examples from the previous slide. I did this is I hired and managed a team of 8 product developers. Well, the value it brought was a new database solution that was implemented ahead of schedule. Here's my other example. I did this was I developed social media marketing campaigns. And it resulted in an increase in website traffic over a 3-month period. So my action step for you is to write powerful, quantifiable results-driven achievements for your resume.